Team, there is a deep-seated problem in the United States military that many people don't talk about the root cause. We just see the superficial. We see the exterior and we laugh and we mock at it. It's hard not to, right? I mean, look at this picture. This is a United States Space Force. And here we have two dudes that are easy to look at and poke a little fun at. One of them obviously has kankles, right? Like, how is that possible? For a couple reasons. One, how is it possible? As I understand it, the Space Force follows the Air Force standards for height and weight. How is it possible that this dude meets any physical fitness standard or body composition standard, right? There's absolutely no way. Like, even with a neck that big. I mean, come on. And then you got another guy who has who's also obviously overweight. But look at that stash, man. Look at that stash. Completely out of regs. Like, where's that senior enlisted advisor who's in charge of maintaining discipline and standards? And how in the hell are these people continuing to make it? Like, why were they brought over? As part of the reason is that they were brought over into the Space Force, right? See, it's not just these seniors that have this issue. It's also prevalent down at the junior enlisted level. And I'm not talking about the grooming standards or the lack of fitness. It's this idea that all I have to do is be good at my job. That's one of the biggest complaints in the Army about promotion system, is that dudes are getting tired of going to boards and sitting in front of the senior enlisted advisors for their company and having to demonstrate their knowledge, having to demonstrate their potential to serve in areas of greater responsibility. What they would rather do is to be like the Air Force and take a written test and just prove MOS proficiency. This is a problem because what it is indicative of is a population who fails to remember that their number one job, regardless of MOS, is to locate, close with, and destroy the enemy by fire and maneuver, and to repel the enemy's assault by fire in close combat. The Marine Corps has a saying that we love, and it's every Marine is a rifleman. Well, man, yes and no, right? It's good to have that theory, that mindset out there. In practice, HR dudes just want to do HR work. They don't want to go to the armory and grab their weapon, go to the range and shoot. Mechanics just want to turn wrenches. Cooks just want to cook. But when we lose this idea, when we lose this mentality that everybody is a warrior and a member of a team, then we begin to create a new identity. Like, at this point, having dude with kankles, like, you may as well just hire a bunch of contractors because you are a member of the uniformed service, right? Does that make sense? Like, you are not a contractor. You are not a civilian. Uniformed, which means regardless of your MOS, when that balloon goes up and you find yourself deployed in a far off place and shit hits the fan, then what are you going to do? Enemy's not going to care. They're going to see somebody who is wearing a uniform when they breach the walls and they come looking for you. And they're not going to find you grabbing your rifle and going to the perimeter They're going to find you under the rack if you can fit, crying out for your mama. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I'd love to sit here and tell you that it's going to change and get better, because it needs to. But the only way to actually make an improvement in this is playing the long game, not the short game. The short game doesn't win the war. The long game wins it. What the military needs more than ever is for good dudes to go into it. Work through that grind and know and understand that the reward is going to be in 10, 15, 20 years from now, 30 years from now. Because imagine what would happen if people with good values who lived with integrity and honor said, I'm throwing up my hands. I don't want any part of this crap. Imagine what it would look like down the road. How much weaker our military is going to be. What is that state of affairs going to do for the security of the United States? Be absolutely atrocious. So there are countless things. We could just look at this one photo and say, here's the problem, there's a problem, here's a root cause, there's another root cause. But what are we going to do about it? What are you going to do about it? At this point in time, if you're too old, if you're retired, if you have a physical limitation of preventing you from serving, whatever the case is, then you need to do what you can do, which is to vote for the right people. Support those politicians who are trying to effect positive change in the military. Write your congressman and senator and work the long game that way. Whatever position that we're in, it's never good enough to look at a problem and say, ha ha ha, here's the problem. What we need are solutions that are actionable attached to those issues. Otherwise, we're just a bunch of walking hypocrites at the end of the day. And that's no bueno. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts and your comments down below on this team. I appreciate you guys. Until then, you stay out there, you keep grinding, and you stay stoked.